The places where I cross axes are known as intercepts. The x-intercept is found when the y value is 0. So let's think about this. If I have a grid where I cross the x-axis, that's my x-intercept. Any point on this line is going to have some x-coordinate, but the y-coordinate's going to be 0. Similarly, anywhere I cross my y-axis, I'll have a y-coordinate, but the x value will always be 0. So what I'm looking for is what are these numbers when the other ones are 0? If I'm in slope-intercept form, then the y-intercept is always this c value. So for this one, straight away, I can say that if x is 0, the y value is -2. And if I forget, I just plug it in. 3/5 times 0 is 0, so 0 minus 2 is -2. Now if I want to find the x-intercept, I have to make y 0. So if I make y 0, I'll get the equation 0 equals 3/5 x minus 2. I'm going to add 2 to the other side, 3/5 x. And now to get x by itself, I'm going to divide both sides by 3/5. So 2 divided by 3/5, so I need to make sure I'm dividing by that whole thing, is equal to my x value. So 2 divide by 3/5. I could also put this in my calculator as saying 2 divide by the fraction 3/5. Oops, let's fix that. So that should be my 5. This top part should just be my 3. And I get 10 over 3. Well, 10 over 3, if I change that into a decimal, is the same as the decimal I saw above. So I could say that my x-intercept is exactly 10 over 3, or I could use my decimal approximation of 3.33. So let's try it over here. I see that if x is 0, I can see my y-intercept is 3. Now if y is 0, I have to figure out my x value. So 0 equals 4x plus 3, subtract 3, and now I'm going to divide by 4. So -3/4 is my x-intercept. Looking at this one, I don't have standard form anymore, so I'm actually going to have to plug in both x and y as my zeros. So let's start with, I'm going to switch colors for this one. If x is 0, then I'm going to have this become 0. So 2y plus 0 is 6. Well, 2 times y is equal to 6. If I divide both sides by 2, I get 3. So my y-intercept must be 3. Now if I think about making my y value 0, I want to figure out my x. So 2 times 0 plus 3x equals 6. Well, that's just 0. So 3 times what is 6? That's 2. It's just a coincidence that I ended up with my coefficients. That is not always going to be true. Here it is though. So let's try again with this one. So in this case, if I start by making x 0, I have 0 minus 4y is 10. So 0 of course is just 0. I'm going to divide both sides by -4 to get my y by itself. So 10 divided by -4. I could also put that in my calculator and have my decimal equivalent. Now I'm going to look at making y 0. If y is 0, I'm going to have x minus 4 times 0 is 10. Well, of course, x minus 0 is just x, so x must be 10. So notice every line I've got 2 intercepts. But what happens here? Now I've got this x equals 3. So if I think about my coordinate grid, what this means is I want every single point where the x value is -3. So I know for sure x is -3 here, but I also have this point. Let's say that that point is like -3, 2. The x is still -3. Here x is -3, x is -3, x is -3. So this must make a vertical line where every coordinate has an x of -3. Clearly, my x-intercept is -3, 0, but I never hit the y-axis. No y-intercept. Conversely, over on this side, I want every point where y is equal to 7. I'm going to lower this down a bit. Every point where y is 7, well, the first point where y is 7, of course, is on my axis. But also I have like 5, 7, or -2, 7. So now I've got a horizontal line. Obviously my y-intercept, when x is 0, y is 7. But when y is 0, I have no point on the line. So now I have no x-intercept. So line E was vertical, and line F was horizontal, and they each have one intercept. The only case where that wouldn't be true is if I graphed, for example, x equals 0, which would be my x-axis, and then my x-intercept and y-intercept would be the point 0, 0.